The ultimate Marauder tier list. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a video I have been holding back for a long while, but it's finally here. The Marauder tier list is finally here. Let me know if you want to see a part 2 to this video, because there's plenty of Marauders. But I have chosen several potential Marauders for this tier list today. I'm sure the meaning of Marauder might be confusing for some of you lot, but I've narrowed it down into some of these categories here for you. Force of Nature. Force of Nature is an evolved version of a Marauder, where they have an X factor so deadly, unbelievably overpowered, that another Marauder can't quite surpass them. They stay at the top of the division for some time, or that they win somehow, some way, using a certain specific skill set of their marauding nature. People forget, man, is a very respectable Marauder. It is the highest level of unevolved Marauder. Being a people forget man means you're a streets won't forget type of Marauder. It's the highest possible compliment you can receive if you are a Marauder. Base level Marauder. You've begun your marauding journey. You are a Marauder. You're winning fights by KO. You are bringing the fight. You are a little bit weird. You're a little bit, ooh, this guy's a bit strange, but I like him. You're a base level Marauder. Brawler. You ain't a Marauder. You're not, but you do turn up and have a scrap. You do turn up and get cracked and keep coming forward. You are a little bit unorthodox, but you just don't win fights, okay? And Imposter is, brother, you ain't any of those things, all right? You try and be those things, but you don't quite belong on this bracket. So without further ado, I hope I explained that kind of well for you guys. Without further ado, Marab. Now, Marab is, Marab is base level Marauder. Let me tell you why Marab is base level Marauder. I nearly put him in. He can't be Brawler because he's an absolutely incredible world champion and he's on an insane winning streak. He definitely isn't an Imposter. He is base level Marauder. Now, he isn't people forget man. The reason why he's not people forget man or Force of Nature is because, what you could say is Force of Nature because of his cardio. He doesn't really have that knockout X factor. Now, had he have knocked out Corey Sanhagen, he could have been bumped up a tier. But he's really lacking that kind of big knockout finishing threat from his game. But the way he fights, his cardio, his sort of ability to keep throwing output on the feet, it is unprecedented. And it is giving signs of Marauder. But it's not quite there yet. It's not quite at the marauding heights you want to see for somebody that is a people forget man. People forget man is the highest possible compliment you can give to a Marauder, but he has begun his marauding journey. He is a Marauder. He does deserve that sort of respect because he has an uncharacteristic skill set in his cardio. It's a very good weapon. It almost would make him Force of Nature if he had like one shot knockout power to go with that. But for now, he's going to be base level Marauder for me. Bobby Green. Bobby Green. Imposter. And that's the reality of this situation. Bobby Green ain't a Marauder. He ain't really a Brawler. Bobby Green tries and does what you might say, he does the research into what a Marauder is. He constitutes characteristically what a Marauder should be. He dresses cool. He named himself King Green. He did all these things to try and be a Marauder, but at most, you could give him Brawler. I'm going to give him Imposter because of the amount of times he's faced a true Marauder or somebody with an uncharacteristic skill set and he's been outdone by them. He's had some good wins in his career, Bobby Green. He has. But at this stage of his career too, you know, Bobby Green, the king, has taken some L's. He's proven not to be at that highest possible championship level. He ain't a base level Marauder like Marab. He ain't. He ain't a base level Marauder. But he is... You know, he is okay as an all-around skill set. He tries to be a Marauder. I can respect his effort, but he's not quite a Marauder, is he? He's just not quite there. Ngannou! Francis Ngannou. Oh, it's going to have to be Force of Nature. Motherfucker knocked out Cain Velasquez with a... This guy, he literally knocked out Cain Velasquez stumbling backwards with a right bowler arm punch uppercut. Okay, he has that power that you just can't mess with, okay? He can lose an entire fight. You could be getting the better of him. You might think you found the right angle for a takedown. Ngannou will just knock you out cold. Like, that's just the way Ngannou operates. He ain't a people forget man. He's not. You don't look at Ngannou and go, people forget man, Ngannou, Marauder. You don't look at Ngannou and do that. You look at Ngannou and think, oh, you might get slept here. Like, you're in big trouble. And he can beat any kind of Marauder you put in front of him, right? He never really faced one. Cain Velasquez, who's not in this video, was kind of out of his prime when he fought Ngannou. He was a bit of a Marauder, unless it was sea-level Cain. He was a bit of a Marauder in his prime. But Ngannou, I truly believe, is just a force of nature that you really can't mess with. That you're better off leaving alone in an MMA fight, to be honest with you. A full, healthy Ngannou, you do not want to mess with that. Yoel Romero. People forget, man. Now, he was almost force of nature. But he's not quite force of nature, is he, Yoel Romero? He took a couple of losses in championship fights. His fight against Israel Adesanya certainly made him lose some marauding points. But, freak. Absolute, as Joe Rogan would say about Yoel Romero. The freak of all freaks. The freak. This guy's eye has a muscle, whatever it is Joe Rogan says. You know, his muscle tissue injury reparation or restoration is just absolutely insane. He is people forget, man. You look at third round Romero and you're like, people forget, man. Third round Romero. You know, absolute mythical levels of Marauder Yoel Romero had. But he wasn't quite a force of nature. I nearly put, he's at the top end of people forget, man. Almost evolving into force of nature because, you know, he kind of does break the laws of nature because, like, 50 years old in Yoel years is like 25. So I guess you could put him in force of nature if you want, but he's not quite on that Ngannou level. He's not quite in force of nature. If he'd been a UFC world champion, I probably would have put him there. But people forget, man, I think it's fair for Yoel Romero. Oh! Mike Jackson. Oh! The man who popped for PDs, taking marijuana to enhance his performance against CM Punk. He's going to have to go in Imposter. I don't even know why I included him in this tier list. You know, probably for comedic effect. But Mike Jackson is not a Marauder. He's not. He don't constitute being a Marauder. He popped for marijuana. I mean, Marauders don't smoke marijuana. Mike Jackson, they don't. That was very naughty behaviour. The devil's lettuce is harmful. You shouldn't do it. He ain't a Marauder. He's an imposter. You could go down there with King Green. And don't you dare put him in Brawler. Chuck Liddell. Oosh. OG Marauder. People forget, man. Back in my day. You know, you see some old head MMA fans that never really improved their understanding of the sport. But that will still kind of come back and say, oh, back in my day. Chuck Liddell, the Iceman. I mean, look at him. The shorts are iconic. The mohawk's iconic. Absolutely a Marauder, without a shadow of a doubt. People forget, man. Chuck Liddell, UFC World Champion legend. If anything, Chuck Liddell pioneered the Marauders of today. You've got to give him the highest possible praise. And he has to go into people forget, man. He's not quite force of nature. He wasn't a force of nature. Maybe for that time you could say, but Chuck Liddell was one of the first guys to have explosive power, fast hand speed, and good takedown defense. He kind of pioneered the sprawl and brawl era of MMA before someone like GSP ended it. But Chuck Liddell was an absolute OG of the Marauder game, a pioneer, and he deserves to go into people forget, man. Dan Hooker, it's going to have to be Brawler. It's going to have to be. I love Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker hasn't been a UFC world champion. You could maybe put him in base level Marauder, but I wouldn't quite do that because nothing about Dan Hooker except maybe his height and his sort of chin and his ability to dig deep sort of stands out. And you need a bit more of that if you want to surpass that Brawler stage. He kind of marauded Mateusz Gamrot, but at the same time, I thought Gamrot won that fight, so I guess that point becomes null and void. I would say Dan Hooker, and I apologise about this advert. Sorry, guys, at the bottom. We're trying to have fun here, and this advert's ruining it. But Brawler is fair for Dan Hooker, in my opinion. I don't want to take it too far with him. I'm not going to act like Dan Hooker's terrible. He's certainly not an imposter. He's had some wars over the years. But, you know, every time he's tried to maraud, he kind of comes unstuck. Like against Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler knocked him out cold, you know. He's just not quite base level Marauder yet, but Dan Hooker is very respectable. Michael Chandler. Oh, Imposter. It's going to have to be. Nearly put him in Brawler. Again, the idea of Michael Chandler is, look at how ripped he is. Look at the kind of intensity that he brings, the athleticism that he has. He suplexes Dustin Poirier. His record in the UFC is terrible, and that does matter. That does matter. That does matter. He did have a great war outside the UFC with Eddie Alvarez. You know, you could maybe put him in Brawler, but his UFC career makes him an imposter. It does. Now, I know he knocked out Dan Hooker, so that kind of, you might be thinking you're a hypocrite, but guess what? I made this video, so it's my rules. I don't need to explain myself to you. You know, you just go along with me here. You either do or you don't. Michael Chandler, UFC record isn't that good. Kind of comes unstuck at the highest level each time he fights. He tries to maraud, but then he gasses out, and that endurance aspect of him kind of stops him from being base level Marauder. And the reason why I wouldn't say he's Brawler is because he's been out brawled so many times, right? That's just the truth of Michael Chandler. I like him, but he's an imposter. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. He could be a Brawler, maybe, but I'd say imposter. Derek Lewis, motherfucker. This guy, right, he is not as scary as Francis Ngannou, taking plenty of losses in his MMA career. He's not quite, people forget, man, had some memorable moments, the shorts and stuff like that, but that doesn't quite make you a Marauder. He has to go in base level Marauder. He can lose an entire fight, but he just has that X factor, that one-punch knockout power that, you know, he's just going to knock you out. Alexander Volkov, completely better fighter in every way, shape or form than Derek Lewis. But Derek Lewis just has a right overhand. When Derek Lewis lets go, when Derek Lewis finds that killer instinct mid-fight, you're toast. You are done. You are absolutely done. And to be fair, thinking about it, I mentioned before Ngannou never really faced a Marauder. He did face Derek Lewis and he lost. Now, we all know why Ngannou lost. His confidence was broken from the Stipe fight. He had to reevaluate himself, you know. It was a terrible fight, which really nobody actually won, to be honest with you. It was a god-awful fight. But that was the clash of Maraud. That was supposed to be the generational clash of Marauder. And it massively let the fan base down. But Derek Lewis is for sure a base level Marauder. He's going to go above Merab for that reason, because he has so many knockouts. Does he have the most in UFC history? Yeah, he's got to be base level Marauder. He's not quite people forget, man. He's not. He's not quite. He never got to that title level. He never won a title. So that maybe hurts him going into people forget, man. So, yeah, I don't know. Rumble Johnson, rest in peace. Yeah, Rumble Johnson. People forget, man. Rumble made that move from 170. He made that move. Yeah, I can't do the Joe Rogan accent, but he made that move from 170. And then it was people forget, man. You look at Rumble Johnson, you go, people forget, man. Prime Rumble. Oh, look what he did to Gus. Oh, God. Didn't stick around long enough. Maybe, some might say. I'm going to put him back to base level Marauder, actually. Now, he was a Marauder. He had the speed, he had the power, he had the precision. He was an animal. He had pretty good wrestling too. Daniel Cormier beat that man twice, by the way. Second Cormier fight, I think Rumble did lose that innate ability to maraud because he tried to take down DC. It was uncharacteristic of him. And you could tell his heart wasn't really in that fight. But Rumble Johnson is a base level Marauder. Nearly in people forget man again, but that people forget man category, I want to save that for a very select few, like Chuck Liddell, Yoel Romero, you know. Those guys are the highest tier of Marauder. And Rumble Johnson nearly achieved that, but he's not quite in there. And he's slightly below Derek Lewis because he had less knockouts, okay? Paulo Costa, Brawler. Paulo Costa, at one stage, he met Yoel Romero. And this actually stops Yoel Romero from being force of nature because we saw two potential Marauders clash that night. Now, Paulo Costa had the momentum. He was undefeated at that time. I still think Yoel Romero to this day won that fight. I need to watch it back. I haven't watched it back in a long time, but it was an absolutely amazing war. It wasn't a robbery or anything, but, you know, Yoel Romero was never getting that decision, is all I have to say, against that version of Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa kind of found his inner Marauder against Roman Kopylov. He marauded Luke Rockhold, kind of got marauded back at times, but he's in Brawler for now. There is a Marauder in Paulo Costa. There's potential there to reach marauding heights, But his momentum was cut off by Israel Adesanya. He took back shots from Izzy too. So that's kind of got to hurt him as a Marauder. You know, you can't be taking back shots if you want to be a Marauder. Not that if you swing that way, it's absolutely fine. But, you know, you can't be getting KO'd and doing that. You just can't. Vinicius Oliveira. This is what I'm talking about, people. Now we're warming up. Vinicius Oliveira is absolutely, for me, a people forget man. Maybe I'm being biased. No, he's going to have to go into base level Marauder. But let me tell you something about Vinicius Oliveira and the reason why he's so high for me. No, he isn't as tested as everybody else on this list. This motherfucker, though, you have to look past certain things. This guy walks after people, hands down, chin in the air. And when I say walking, I don't mean like walking you down metaphorically. I mean, I don't even know if that was a metaphor. I mean, walking, squared up hips, one foot in front of the other, walking up to guys in the octagon and cutting them off that way. And people try to throw head kicks at him, they just miss. Not because he moves his head, but because they just miss through aura alone. They just miss somehow, some way. People try and exchange punches with him. They don't land. Why? I don't know. They just don't. They just don't. Look at his Bernardo Sopai KO. Look at his fight against Said Nurmagomedov. That guy was shooting for his life. His life against Vinicius Oliveira. Absolutely will be, people forget, man, may even go to force of nature. I do not know what that guy's game plan is, except just somehow, somewhere, walk after you and maraud you. That's all. That's what Vinicius Oliveira is. This motherfucker walks after people. I can't emphasize this enough. I have seen with my own two eyes this man with absolutely no technique whatsoever, like a drunk man outside Weatherspoons, walk one foot in front of the other after somebody in an octagon and still somehow get the win, despite doing every single thing wrong by the book. Actually, no, he's going to go in people forget man for that reason. One of my favourite fighters on the UFC. Merab's hardest matchup. No, it's not. I don't know about that. But absolutely people forget man. Absolutely insane head case of a man. Diego Lopez. Oh, base level Marauder. And now I think people might view this as a bit of an underrated shout. Diego Lopez is going to end up being people forget man by the end of his career. I'm sure of it. Kind of got schooled by Alexander Volkanovski, but he's a wizard on the ground. He is amazing from full guard. Him and Charles Oliveira are really the last guard players in this sport to be successful there. Has a lot of power on the feet, an insane chin, just doesn't move his head whatsoever, just stands there and tanks them, right? He's got the haircut of a Marauder, and that does matter, right? Being bald, skinhead, or Diego Lopez's hair, Chuck Liddell's hair, that will help you on your way to becoming a Marauder, because you aren't just pretending to be a Marauder, like Bobby Green, you know, or somebody like that. You really are living by the code of Marauder. You really are. And Diego Lopez does deserve to be recognised as a Marauder for me, and he will continue his journey, I'm sure, to being a true people forget man level fighter. Nate Diaz, Brawler. Now, Nate Diaz, his fight with Conor McGregor, the first fight's my favourite fight of all time. The second fight will be everybody else's favourite fight of all time, but because I was kissed by autism when I was a young kid, hence why I've made this video to begin with, let's be honest. That's my favourite fight of all time. Against Leon Edwards, just aura farms. Instead of finishing the fight and getting one of the biggest upsets ever in history for a second time in his career, just kind of decides to aura farm on him instead in the 5th round. But he did get schooled that whole fight. And, you know, Nate Diaz will get schooled and laugh and point and joke and stuff like that. You know, Jorge Masvidal, he lost that fight for the BMF title, you know. That's the truth. He didn't get his hands on the BMF. Didn't get his hands on a UFC world title. Got ragdolled by Rory McDonald. Like, there's nothing about Nate Diaz that stands out to make him a Marauder. Except he's just got a zombie-like level chin. And he just stays in the fight somehow. But that makes him a Brawler for me. That doesn't make him a Marauder, because he's had some very believable losses, if that kind of makes sense. He's not quite... Some people make Nate Diaz out to be a Marauder. For me, if you try and do that, I'll just drop him down a tier. You know, don't argue with me on my own categories. He's Brawler for me. He's not quite Marauder. That's where we are so far, guys. I'll just zoom out for a second. That's where we're up to. Let me know in the comments whether you agree. I think I'm right here. Yuri. Yuri Prohaska. Oh. He's got to go into People Forget, man. Top end. Mother, this guy's insane. This guy's insane. Kind of like Vinicius Oliveira, but he still stays in a stance while he's trying to walk you down, right? He at least keeps his feet 1 foot in front of the other. He doesn't just walk after people, right? He at least stays in a stance. He at least keeps his knees parallel, right? He at least does that, right? He tries to move out with in and out movement is what I'm saying. Yuri is a People Forget man. He's not quite force of nature because he got slept by Alex Pereira twice, right? Who's also in this list. No, he's not. I'm going to add him in a second. But Yuri is a People Forget man. A true samurai. This motherfucker trains in a shack in the woods, right? He's insane. Well, he's not insane. Let's go for that. He's not insane. What I mean is his fight style is insane. His fight against Alexander Rakic, prime example. Rakic, far better striker than him. But does Rakic beat him? No. He should have beat him. He fought a composed, intelligent game plan. And then Yuri just bitched him. Because it's Yuri. Because somehow. That's why that happened. That's what happened. He took a dozen calf kicks on both legs. He got a dozen left hands straight to the chin from Rakic. A dozen right hands straight to the chin from Rakic. Still won. Completely outlanded on the strikes record. I do believe statistically. Still won. Because it's Yuri. Same with Khalil Roundtree. Is he a better striker than Khalil? No. No. Is he better fundamentally than Khalil? No. Did Khalil outclass him at times? Yeah. Did Khalil win? No. You know what I mean? That motherfucker's insane. Dominic Reyes. He ruined Dominic Reyes' life. Alright? People say John Jones ruined Dominic Reyes' life. Yuri Prohaska ruined this guy's life. That's the truth. Yuri Prohaska and Jan Blachowicz, but Yuri Prohaska especially. Reyes never came back from that. He did a bit, but he didn't really. You know, he didn't really. Tony Ferguson. Ooh. You know what, guys? Let me just add in Alex Pereira. Oof. Man. People forget, man. Yeah. It's got to be. It's got to be. Move Chuck Liddell up a bit. Give some respect to the legend. Tony Ferguson, man. Fuck. Look at all of his opponents' faces. Every single guy that he faced. Now, he never fought Khabib. Khabib would have beat him pretty comfortably, let's be honest. He never did get UFC gold. But he kind of was screwed over by injuries. He was screwed over by the UFC several times. So he never really got that answer. Like, he never fought for an official world title, which is insane. Absolutely insane with the win streak he went on. But people won't forget that 12-fight win streak. People forget, man. People do forget, man. They see him losing, you know, having a difficult boxing match with Salt Pappy. See him losing to Paddy Pimblett or King Green. Oh, God. But in his prime, pre-Justin Gaethje, people forget, man. Those elbows, the knees. Again, not quite Yuri. Yuri's actually, a lot of people used to call Yuri the light heavyweight Tony Ferguson. He's actually surpassed Tony Ferguson. Now, he's not kicking poles and doing stuff like that, which is maybe missing from Yuri's game. But he is extra. He is as conditioned as Tony. He has a better chin than Tony did. Insane recovery like Tony did. Power like Tony did. But he's outdone Tony because he was a UFC world champion. And man, Tony's still got to be in People Forget though, man. I can't drop him to base level Marauder. He deserves recognition in the Marauder Hall of Fame. He does. He does. Dricus du Plessis. Oh, it's got to be People Forget, man. Dricus deserves it, man. I know he got dominated by Hamzat, which stops him from being in Force of Nature. If he beat Hamzat, he would have been in Force of Nature, no word of a lie, because this guy looks at the ground, right, when he throws a combination, stares at the ground, can fall over into an ankle pick on Israel Adesanya. He beats the highest level strikers on the feet by being just Dricus. I don't even know what to describe it as. Dricus, throw me a 1-2. Motherfucker will throw a standing hammer fist as a 1 and then a slap as a 2. And he'll knock you out. He'll knock the pads off your hands. You know, he's insane. Dricus du Plessis is people forget, man. His title reign, I don't think he'll ever beat Hamzat. But he does deserve recognition for that run he had to the belt and after the belt as a people forget man. And people do forget, man. People might disagree with this in the comments because they'll be like, but Ben, look at what happened to Drickus. But no, put some respect on his name, all right? Treat Drickus with the respect he deserves because he is a people forget man. Alex Pereira, man, force of nature, right? Again, he, as a force of nature, he had that tested when he fought Yuri. And look what he did to Yuri twice. Like, Yuri is extreme. Compared to everybody else in the division, Yuri can take shots off Rakic, Khalil. He can do all those things. But not Alex Pereira. Not Alex Pereira. He took some, but he couldn't take many. Pereira absolutely destroyed him in the second fight too. Look at the Jamal Hill fight, the Ankalaev fight. When he's fully healthy, absolute force of nature. Slightly below Ngannou, because Ngannou's just the biggest force of nature of all time, right? Ateba Gautier nearly made it in this list too, but not quite. Got to see a bit more from him. For me, man, Pereira's just an animal. Absolute animal. But that's it, guys. You have it there. Force of nature. People forget, man. Base level Marauder, Brawler, Imposter. That is your list, people. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree. Thank you for watching. Pereira is a force of nature. Ngannou, those two are the creme de la cremes of force of natures. Vinicius Oliveira is going to get up there soon one day, though, I predict it. Thank you for watching. Adios. Goodbye.